I wasn't born in a musical family, but like many people from my generation, have chosen music as a way of life. Yeah, no, but every time you do a session, every time we do sessions or whatever for like, say like a Western producer, you do one little rhythm and then suddenly like there's a, yeah, that's it, finish. And it's probably the simplest and the most understandable rhythm to them. But it's not like getting over the real, you know, the real part of tabla, is it? It's not getting over the real...
I think Asian music's really complex. It's not simple. They don't think it's simple. That's it, it's over and done with, because it's got a lot of offbeats and completely different.
There's a lot of polyrhythms and stuff. But, you know,
Really
if I play a classical solo, you know, a traditional classical tabla solo in tin tal or jap tal, you know, nobody would be ready to listen to it. Yeah. But I can play that same thing over, like, I can put a tabla into a phaser or something, you know, and they would accept it, they would listen to it.
You know, you're improvising from, I mean, you don't always rip off old, you know, kind of Asian music. You know, you improvise amongst that and you may chop it up or you may get someone to do it different, you know, according to what people want today. Like, you know, the average street kid out there, and that's why we make our music so hard and raw, you know, to get real solid credibility.
We have to live with samples, but until the time changes. Yeah, Chris. Spiritualness of the East mixed in with the aggression of the West.
You know it, home.
Oh. Other people have managed to express their problems of identity through their music with rap, rhyme and reggae. Mixing spirituality and technology and introducing it to the dance floor is no mean task. With all these values, it's not surprising we have difficulty in communicating our problems. It's really hard to rebel. Our generation is now in search of its identity. We were brought up in such a different world. Traditions have stood still for our parents from the moment they arrived in England after the partition with British India and the creation of the independent Muslim state of Pakistan in 1947. How were they to know that our aspirations would not entirely be the same as theirs? My father came here, all he wanted was, he was very educated, he came here, couldn't get a job, worked on the buses. You know, that's the best job he could get for 15 years. He gave his children like the best education because that was the most important thing to him. And my father didn't want me to be a doctor or an accountant. You know, he wanted his sons to be prime ministers. Can you imagine? You know.
But there is, I think, if you grow up in an area like Bradford or like Southall, where you've got a particularly strong Asian community in all our own shops and things like that. There is also, I find when I walk down the street in those places that the pressure to conform is very subtle and it's very silent. And it's a dangerous thing to feel as though you're going to be betraying your community if you're not a living museum piece. Do you know what I mean? To be.
If you look down here, I mean, I can remember when I used to live across here, places like this, and you know, it is very much like Pakistan. It's just brilliant, you know, like so many colours around and things like that.
But it's really important for our parents to create a kind of philosophy of Little India here, wasn't it? So that we wouldn't lose a sense of that. I think I understand why our parents would want to do that.
jum takarum tatadim takita takatum.
This suspended time is no longer ours. We have a duty to understand our traditions and decide which values we wish to keep. I feel I need to talk to somebody from the older generation to see if my ideas are ill-founded.
Yes?
Is he going to challenge my beliefs, or are they in order? Does my work go against the grain of Islam? And am I therefore contradicting my faith? Can I be a musician and a Muslim?
Sit down. A musician and a Muslim. Do you see a contradiction between the two?
I personally do not. I just wanted to know, is music allowed in Islam?
Well, I would say that the Orthodox discourage music. And there's a reason, there's a simple reason. The reason is that they feel that worship of God must not recourse to any kind of external support, like music. But having said that, there are great forms of music in Islam, like the Naat, the Qawwali, in which you express your devotion, your spiritual love for God through these forms of music. So I wouldn't say that, that there's a rejection by Muslims of music. I would certainly say that among the more orthodox, there is that fear of not transgressing the boundaries. That is important. Because you see, music is not music per se. It's also a symbolic form in a society. Now you are a singer, you're not just singing a certain song, you're also representing something to a whole generation. Then youngsters look at you and they say, what is this man saying? What does he mean? What does he represent? Where is he going? Where does he want us to go?
Is it possible for me to mix traditional and modern music together?
I think it's not only possible, but I think it's important. That is the way forward. You have to resolve the two poles in your life. One is your culture and your tradition, which is focused on Islam. And two is the music, which is you as a person and you as a professional. So really, in a sense, you have to push towards finding this answer for yourself, because every music has a different social environment within which it functions.
I'm not sure that Professor Akbar completely understood what I was getting at, but at least he pushed me in the right direction when he said,
Go back to your roots, go to the source, to the book, go back to your own music, and I think once you do that, then the answers would begin to come by themselves. Because you have to resolve modernity and tradition, your father's times with your times.
सानी ना कोई मेरे सोने नबी लजपालदा सानी ना कोई मेरे सोने नबी लजपालदा अखां विच पाए माज़ा सुभान अल्लाह सुभान अल्लाह दे डोरे ने ओए अखां विच पाए माज़ा सारे को सुभान अल्लाह सारा झुक दे खुदाई झुकदा ज़माना सुभान अल्लाह
Before leaving, I read these words without understanding them.
If sounds are of divine birth, then they contain a small part of eternity that sends us out into a world where time is no more and where vibration is eternal. Sound, born of silence, can only return to it. The voice speaks, and in speaking it creates the world.
The zikr repeats the name of Allah to the point of ecstasy, and yet the rhythm is not called music, which I find rather confusing. Are you going to pour the tea or what?
Yeah, Aki, we're in Asia, and I'm older than you, so you'll have to make the tea for me.
I didn't have to. We have tea bags.
Tea bag tea tastes horrid.
So, can Ajmal explain to me the spirituality, what it means to him, and how he knows when he's achieved it or when he's in it, and what does he get out of it?
I'll translate this because it's a complex concept. Ajmal Sahib, ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰੂਹਾਨੀਅਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੂਸੀਕੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਮਰਤਬੇ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੇ ਹੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਮੂਸੀਕੀ 'ਚ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੂਸੀਕੀ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ
ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਰੂਹਾਨੀਅਤ ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਸਬਕ ਇਹ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਫੀਲਡ 'ਚ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਕਲਾਸਿਕ ਮੂਸੀਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਾਂ ਕਵਾਲੀ ਜਾਂ ਗਜ਼ਲ ਸਾਡਾ ਬੇਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਬੁਨਿਆਦ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਰੂਹਾਨੀਅਤ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਮਸਨ ਮੇਰੇ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਸ਼ੌਕਤ ਹੁਸੈਨ ਖਾਨ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਸਬਕ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਬੇਟਾ ਸੁਣੋ ਪਰਖੋ ਤੇ ਕਰੋ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਸਲੇ ਹੱਥ ਨਾਲ ਵਜਾਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਿਆ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਸਾਊਂਡ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਨਾਂਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਤਬਲੇ ਦੇ ਬੋਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਉਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਬੁਰਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਤਬਲਾ ਸਿੱਖਣਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਸਕਦਾ
ਅੱਛਾ ਝਿਜਕ ਹੋ ਗਈ
ਮੈਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵਜਾਵਾਂਗਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਤੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵਜਾਵਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਬੇਟਾ ਮੇਰੇ 50 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਕਾਜੇ ਤੇ
ਵਾਹ ਵਾਹ
ਤੇ ਤੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵਜਾਏਗਾ ਸੋ ਲਾਓ ਟਾਈਮ ਲਾਓ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧੋ ਇਹ ਸਪੀਡ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਦੱਸ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਟੁਰ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਸਪੀਡ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ
ਪੱਕਾ ਕਰਾਂ
ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਇਹਦਾ ਪੂਰਾ ਬੋਲ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ 20 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗੇ ਨੇ
To India and I studied with Guruji for like a year and a half and then coming back was a problem you know because at that time I was quite a traditionalist and like finding work and stuff like that was very difficult so I had to kind of study a lot of like Cuban rhythms and a lot of Western stuff and try to like I used to play with funk bands and it was like I wanted to play with funk bands but oh, what do you play? I play tablas. Oh, we don't want tablas. We don't really hear that in our music. Yeah. But I would play like congas.
With all these rich and beautiful sounds around you, you feel like taking them all and creating your own world. Ajmal said that it is the role of the musician to respond to creation, to recreate a world already created. He also pointed out the dangers of a world without the unifying force of music. When I was a kid, I often used to ask my mother to tell me the story of Bilal, a slave who was freed by the Prophet and who became a follower. Bilal called to prayer with a voice so miraculous that the Orthodox were troubled, and although the Prophet did not agree with them, they ordered Bilal to be silent.
And so he was. But in the silence of the dawn, as the faithful were assembled to celebrate the new day, the sun failed to rise.
To be known as music, each composition must be associated with a colour, a myth, a state of mind, an hour of the day, a season. Between the people of Punjab, music has the same meaning for them all.
We are at the crossroads of very powerful traditions. We have the Indian tradition to the east, we have the Iranian tradition to the west, we have the Central Asian traditions, we have the Arab traditions. And all these things came and impacted here. And it produced new forms of music with different origins.
When my parents talked to me about the Punjab, they always talked about Bhangra. It was a traditional way for farmers to celebrate the harvest.
So what you have is a dance with a folk theatre tradition inside. That was a very old form of Bhangra. Like I told you, the word Bhangra comes from bhang. And the people who, which is of course cannabis, the dope, but liquid dope. And these people are bhangis, or people who drink bhang. It's a very low caste of people. But somehow they have stuck to their very, very old, archaic traditions. This was the way it used to be. They have resisted attempts at changing them. They probably even predate Hinduism as we know it today. The Bhangra, of course, is essentially Punjabi. There's nowhere else in the world that you have the Bhangra.
Except in England. Generally, no Punjabi ceremony is held in England that doesn't end with a Bhangra band. Although so many miles away from the homeland, the community has transformed and renamed it Bhangra Beat.
ओ परदेसी नाल ना अखियां लायो बई पावे लख सोने दा होवे बई एक गल्लों परदेसी चंगा है जदों याद करे तद रोवे परदेसी पिंड विच आ गया नी भाभी माड़ा मिठ मिठ गीत सुना गया नी भाभी परदेसी पिंड विच आ गया नी भाभी गल विच गानी कनाद विच मुंदर गल विच गानी कनाद विच मुंदर मेरे चित दा चैन चुरा गया नी भाभी माड़ा मिठ मिठ गीत सुना गया नी भाभी परदेसी पिंड विच आ गया नी भाभी जवानी है ओदी अख बड़ी मस्तानी है अल्लड़ मस्त जवानी है अख बड़ी मस्तानी है मेरे नैना दी नींद चुरा गया नी भाभी बड़ा मिठ मिठ गीत सुना गया नी भाभी परदेसी पिंड विच आ गया नी भाभी
Back there, Bhangra musicians carry the stigma of the lower castes. But here, since they help to preserve the language and the family unity, they are appreciated as defenders of the Punjabi identity.
परे हो जा सोनिए साडी रेल गड्डी आई
Similar to the bhangra, you have another devotional beat that's linked to religiosity, and that's the dhamal. And the dhamal has very strong devotional elements. This is exactly what people are doing here. Musicians and the dancers are expressing themselves at a spiritual level. The beat is very rhythmic, very strong. It permits more movement. It is less restrictive.
I wanted to ask another question, and that was, when I came to Pakistan, experienced a great rhythm on the streets. I heard music everywhere, it's blaring out everywhere. But I find that what is the status of a musician? Where's the respect? Everybody loves music, but nobody wants to be a musician, or nobody wants their children to be a musician.
I think the whole thing is that since we are Muslims, but we happen to be in South Asia.
Can we ask that question to Ajmal? I need an explanation from Ajmal.
Yeah, but I think you probably need to take a look at the historical background.
Okay.
If we take a look at the Indian caste system, it is a system of hierarchy where you have the priests on the top, and then you have the warriors, and then you have the shopkeepers or traders, and then the farmers, and then you have outcasts. Outcasts are occupational groups, people who do some kind of specialized occupation, like carpenters, like blacksmiths, like musicians, like dancing girls, like courtesans. The whole system is structured in such a way that these people have an extremely low status, and they are considered to be untouchables in that particular system. You've probably seen the red light area here in Lahore, what they call Shahi Mohalla, or the Royal Street. Nobody wanted to know about this area. They said it doesn't exist. Even today, there is a general denial that this place exists. When we had Muslim rule in India, you had the Mughal Empire, and the Mughals gave a lot of patronage to music. And people, the aristocracy, used to send their children to get educated by courtesans here. People who taught them good manners, poetry, and singing, and even music. And this patronage continued, and they had their place in society, they had their respect in society, the musicians, the courtesans, everybody. And then came the British. They were more interested in empire building rather than sort of worrying about the musicians here. The result is that there's been a breakdown of tradition. Even musicians who come from this area cannot sing for radio or television if they come from this area. They have to lie about where they live. The ghazal is love poetry and has very strong erotic elements in it. It has a very strict grammar, and the music is there only to highlight the content. It is no longer bodily love between human beings. It is union with the eternal. The people who listen to it have to have an intellectual understanding of the poetry before they listen to it so they can really appreciate it.
They have to have.
They have to have it, so it becomes something for the elite.
Yeah, which I'm not very
fond of.
Yeah, I'm not very fond of music for the elites, because I see it as intellectualizing a feel, a natural feel.
Because I was born and brought up in England, obviously English is my first language, so I would find it a bit difficult to understand the depth of the lyrical content of a ghazal. It's like Shakespeare or Chaucer. It's like reading or listening to very sophisticated literature.
To celebrate the promotion of its general manager, the Shadman Import-Export Company wishes to organize a private party at a location which remains to be decided. As Mr. Salahuddin enjoys the traditions of his country of origin, we had the idea of inviting a few Asian artists, among whom we would be honored to include you.
Mommy, just look at this fax. It's some guy who wants to do a private concert. He's just been promoted and he's having a private dinner and dance, I would imagine. And he's invited 100 people. I expect there would be, well, men most probably.
Yes, he's saying all men.
And he wants to invite a few other artists, but he's not very clear about what exactly he wants. I think, you know, what we should do is just fax him back and just ask him for more details, what the venue is like.
No, darling. You see, these kind of facts, if you have, you just throw them away. Because these the type of things, if you start doing, then your reputation will go down the drain.
Oh, dear.
And
okay, so let's just look at this Japanese contract then.
That's better. Because this you can see how many minutes you're going to perform, what they're going to pay you, you're going to stay in a respectable 5-star hotel, and everything is written there very clearly.
I've stayed to a Western style, which is, I wouldn't say 100% jazz, but we've taken small influxes of jazz.
जो getting a little bit messy at that point with both of you playing. I reckon if you let Ray go behind the vocal a bit more there,
okay, fine.
that'd be better.
All right.
Because we had a lot of you at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think, what do you think about the alap in the beginning?
अलाप को हमेशा आहिस्ता आहिस्ता एक एक सुर पे खड़े होकर एकदम आप सा को ऊपर ना आएंगे, नी रे धा नी रे गा मा पा, ऐसे आराम आराम से सब सुर देख के फिर आप वापस सा पे आएंगे.
Okay.
It's a little bit long, isn't it, actually?
Yeah. Shall I leave the alap and maybe go straight into it? That might be an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, for this one.
Yeah, because we have alaps on most of the songs anyway.
Yeah.
I find that the Western people tend to like the Easternness about me, but you see, they tend to forget that I was born in England and that my first language is English, so I have every right to display that form of music or that kind of language as well.
It seems to me that Mrs. Akhtar follows her daughter Najma's career very closely, and she seems very concerned about the movements forbidden in the traditional ghazal. Perhaps she's afraid that her daughter will look like one of the dancing girls you see on all the screens in Pakistan.
जे मैं रोज़ी वाल दौड़ पावां तो मैं रोज़ी कमा सकना, मैं फिल्म इंडस्ट्री चला जावां, मैं रोज़ दे 2-3 गाने बजा लैंगा, रुपया 10-1200 रुपया मैं कमा के लै जांगा. लेकिन वो सस्ता म्यूजिक हो गया. सस्ता इस सेंस हो गया, एक तो पोइट्री जिहड़ी हैगी है, शायरी, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ वल्गैरिटी बहुत ज़्यादा. माशरा साडा घुटिया होया, वो इंजॉयमेंट करन वास्ते कोई वसीला लभदे ने. ठीक है, मसलन नूरजहां सारा दिन रेहड़ियां ते गलियां ते बसां ते नूरजहां दे गाने लगे. ठीक है ना जी, ਉਹਦੀ पोइट्री भी आसान है, लोगों को समझ आ रही है, ਉਹਦੀ कंपोजिशन आसान हैगी है, लोगों को समझ आ रही है, ਉਹਦਾ रिदम सीधा हैगा, लोगों को समझ आ रहा है, भरपूर है. जिस वेले ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਜਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਆਡੀਅנס ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਨਾ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਉਸ ਆਡੀਅנס ਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੌਸੀਕਾਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਡਿਪੈਂਡ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ. ਸਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਕਸੂਰ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ, ਮੌਸੀਕਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਸੂਰ ਹੈ. ਦੂਸਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੀ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਫਨ ਦੀ ਪੁਸ਼ਤ ਪਨਾਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੁਣ. ਮਸਲਨ ਮੈਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਚੰਗਾ ਸਮਝ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮਾਸ਼ਰਾ ਚੰਗਾ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਨਾ ਮੈਂ ਰੋਟੀ ਕਮਾ ਕੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਸਕ ਰਿਹਾ. ਮੇਰੀ ਬੀਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਖਫਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਤੂੰ ਤਬਲਾ ਵਜਾ, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਮਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਜੀਵਾਂ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਨਾ.
Do you want me to play?
Yeah.
It seems that there is no clear separation between the profane and the sacred.
You mean in Pakistani music?
Yeah.
Well, you see, you have the Hindu religion, in which music is an integral part of the religion, and even certain profanity like erotics forms an important part of worship. Now, Islam, when it came here, understood, or the Sufis understood this concept, and they began to realize that you can express devotion and you can move out of the profane sphere and make it into a higher, more abstract concept, and thus come closer to God and shed the profanity and become pure and spiritual. You have the Qawwali, which has got a lot of spirituality, it has a lot of force, it is extremely dynamic. Every Qawwal has to go through the restrictive grammar of learning to sing in a certain way. And then they talk about spirituality.
सोज फिराक रंजेटने वाले असान परो गद पाए सोज फिराक रंजेटने वाले असार पिरो गल पाए एक एक दर्द माही दे उतो सा सुखड़े कोल गवाए एक एक दर्द माही दे उतो सा सुखड़े कोल गवाए जिना दर्दां विच जिना दर्दां विच वे मेरा माही राजी जिना दर्दां विच मेरा नौशो राजी जिना दर्दां विच मेरा पुरशद राजी शाला हो मन दूर सराए लवे यार फरीदा ओ दर्द सलामत यार फरीदा ओ दर्द सलाम जिना दर्दा यार मिलाए इश्क ने रचाया एक कर दिया दिया वे ओ मेरे मैं इश्क ने रचाया एक कर दिया दिया वे
As far as the qawwals are concerned, when they perform in a religious context, they don't ask for any money, but they have to survive, they have to eat. And it's like a performance fee, but done in an indirect manner, because money is seen as something polluted. So the Pir or the holy man touches it to purify the money.
हेलो, ये सनराइज़ रेडियो एफएम है। आप हमें सुन रहे हैं 103.2 पर। और आज हमारे प्रोग्राम के अंदर दो गेस्ट आए हुए हैं। Two guests in the studio that I have over here, Aki Nawaz from Nation Records in London and Bali Sagu, the Asian music producer from Birmingham.
What we're trying to do is create a modern feel with typical Indian Punjabi words or songs. This track that you've just been playing, which is by Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, the great Qawwal singer, is with a very, very modern beat.
Bali, do you consider yourself the final composer of the final product, so to speak?
Yes, we produce everything from scratch. It's not a remix. This is a brand new track. This is.
So who ultimately gets the praise, you or Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan?
Well, I don't know. He sings the song and I do the music to it at the end of the day.
Well, what if it's a hit?
Well, we keep our fingers crossed. Well, I mean, like, it's Nusrat's track, isn't it? He's the artist.
This is traditional religious music, basically, isn't it?
Mhm.
So do you find yourself being condemned by the traditionalists and, you know, the fundamentalists for messing about with something like that? Because it's not primarily dance music, is it?
I don't think it's relevant. I think if someone like Nusrat Fateh Ali gave Bali the track and said, do something with it, then, you know, there's no more, you know, there isn't anybody much more traditional than Nusrat. So I think,
that is true, but you always find people, you know, they're always
Well, I mean,
willing
like-
to
Well,
complain.
it's the same thing at the end of the day. You can't make everybody
Yeah,
happy.
exactly.
That is
You will
true,
always
yes.
get. I mean, I'm trying to do something different, i.e., westernized music. That's why this music is more westernized. If we'd done it in a very, very Asian concept, it'll be like your average Qawwalis or average Punjabi music. We aren't doing typical Indian or whatever you want to call it music. We're doing a Western kind of a music, but keeping an Indian track.
do you actually like typical? Because I don't like the way you use typical because it's like quite degrading to us. To us.
No, I don't know. You can say what you like, but yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, but I mean, when you say typical, what do you mean by typical?
Well, what you hear on the original tapes, you know, those are.
Do you like Asian?
Well,
typical
I like some
music?
of it. Some of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe that's the reason. I mean, at the end of the day, why isn't Asian music getting into the charts?
There's 1,000,001 reasons. and all
Exactly.
that stuff.
I mean, but I mean,
you could go down racism. You could go down anything.
yeah,
and all
but
that
you can knock it down to some serious things as well, maybe because of the music.
I mean, like, you know, what's the end result? What do you want out of the end? I mean, do you want a #1 hit with loads of money?
Yes, what exactly is
You know, what
the
do you
aim?
want?
Everyone wants a #1 hit on. I mean, that's what we're aiming for, isn't it? I mean, that is what we're aiming for.
I think we should take the essence of Indian music and not the outskirts of it. Take the real essence of it and treat the Western ideas as an outskirt around it, so it's still revolving around Indian music and essential. It's not, you know, in the outskirts.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we take the best of two worlds?
Yeah.
And do you think people are going to understand it? I mean, you know, how are we going to make people understand what we're doing?
By doing it.
I think by gaining credibility, you know, having real hard streetwise credibility, because what we do is heavily involved with East-West music, and it is a fusion. But I think at the end of the day, we want people to get back into the Eastern music, you know, Western music and dance music they already have. It's like
we as like a new generation of like musicians, you know, what should we reject and what should we keep of like our values and our morals and all that stuff to do with like traditional music and what we're doing now.
Because we're going to launch something for a lot of our brothers and sisters out there, and they'll be able to perform themselves. And once they have respect for their music, then it's a lot easier, and people won't be able to rip them off, not even ourselves.
The Western world has lost a lot of its culture. That's why they take interest in Islam.
Right.
The only reason why people are interested is because we've got such a hard culture and such a deep culture, what a lot of people don't have.
Well, he is a master of the classical tradition. He comes from a very old classical, South Asian classical tradition. So he'll be able to tell you a lot about this. And if you have problems with Urdu, I'll translate some of the things for you.
We need to do that. My Urdu is not absolutely brilliant, so we'll
Yes, the point is to communicate with the master. मैं ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਤਾਰਫ ਕਰਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ ਨਵਾਜ਼ ਜੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਫਨਕਾਰ
मुझे माफ़ देना मेरी उर्दू इतनी अच्छी नहीं है और मैं इंग्लिश में पूछ रहा हूँ. Please give me an example of mysticism in your music.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੌਸੀਕੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਫਤ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਮਿਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ?
मैं मार्फत की मिसाल देता हूँ. पहले मैं ये अर्ज करना चाहता हूँ कि आपने रूहानियत के मतलब जो कहा मैं फिर आपको बताता हूँ. रूहानियत के लिए भी पीर और मुर्शिद की उस्ताद की ज़रूरत है. इल्म की ज़रूरत है. बग़ैर इल्म जो है बग़ैर उस्ताद के पीर और मुर्शिद के नहीं आ सकता. और उस पर जब वो उसको आ जाए तो वो तरीक़ा बताता है. अब उस तरीके पर अमल करना शागिर्द का काम है या औलाद जो करे काम है. और जब वो याद कर लेगा उसके बाद उस पर फिर अमल करे. जब अमल करेगा तो राह का असर हो जाएगा. रहा मार्फत के मतलब आपने पूछा, मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि मार्फत की एक चीज़ पेश करता हूँ. बैरों की जब ताल में है, ताल जब ताल में है, अल्लाहु अल्लाह अल्लाहु अल्लाह जल शान अल्लाह तेरो नाम ले मेरी होवे तसल्ला। ये है यानी मास पर। अब वो जो लोग थे अल्लाह वाले जो बैठते थे वो इबादत समझ के इसके करते थे। वो बैठे तालबूला पकड़ा है, नमाज पढ़ी, मुसल्ला बैठे अल्लाह 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 ही अल्लाह अल्लाह ही अल्लाह 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 ही अल्लाह अल्लाह ही अल्लाह 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 अल्लाह। वो दो घंटे की बर्ज कर रहे थे। आप जो ये इस तरह अल्लाह ताला को पुकारेगा उसके गाने में क्यों ना असर होगा, उसकी ज़बान में क्यों ना असर होगा। तो ये पहली चीज़ है कि कोई भी काम करे, गज़ल ठुमरी गीत गाए कुछ भी गाए, क्लासिकी मौसीकी का जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है। जो है रूहानियत वो इंसान के अंदर है। हमारा जो क्लासिकी मौसीकी का फल है ये है ही रूहानियत।
मैं ये म्यूज़िक बनाई थी वो दिल से बनाई थी। ये थोड़ा वो डांस एलिमेंट होता है, इंग्लैंड से डांस एलिमेंट बात है, स्पिरिचुअलिटी।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਖਿਆਲ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਮੌਸੀਕੀ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ? ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੂਹਾਨੀਅਤ ਪਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ।
मैंने आपका सुना है और इस तरह के रोज़ सुनते रहते हैं टीवी में, रेडियो में। ये कोई नई बात तो है नहीं, लेकिन सवाल यही पैदा होता है कि मैं आपकी खिदमत में यही अर्ज़ करूँगा, तुम बेटे हो, मेरे बच्चों के बराबर हो, कि तुम्हें शौक़ है, तुमने किया, मैंने सुना। अब आपसे ये सवाल है कि आपने इसको कौन से राग रागनी नहीं किया, कौन से सुरों से बचा के नहीं कहा, किस राग में से किया है?
बस मैं सोचा नहीं, बस किया।
सोचना आपने बहुत सी बात की है कि मैंने सोचा नहीं बस हो गया, तो इसका मतलब ये होगा कि मौसीकी के मतलब अभी आपको ने बहुत कुछ सीखना है। आपको मैं यही मशवरा देता हूँ कि आपको माशाल्लाह शौक़ है, तो इसमें आपके इल्म में इजाफा ही होगा और ही होगा, इसमें कमी तो नहीं होगी। आप इस काम को करते हैं तो ये है कि आपको क्लासिकी मौसीकी की तालीम बड़ी ज़रूरी होनी चाहिए। ये बहुत ज़रूरी चीज़ है, इसमें आपको पता लग जाएगा कि मैंने कहाँ तक जाना है, कहाँ तक आना है, लय का, सुर का, ताल का एक ज़ाब्ता कानून है। इसमें कोई ज़ाब्ता नहीं, कोई कानून नहीं, कहाँ जाना है और कहाँ आना है, कोई सिस्टम नहीं, कुछ नहीं, ये अपनी मर्ज़ी का सौदा है। और ये ग्रामर, हर चीज़ की ग्रामर होती है, देखो ना, हर चीज़ की ग्रामर है, ग्रामर नहीं तो कुछ भी नहीं। इसलिए ग्रामर के लिए आपको मैं यही मशवरा देता हूँ कि आपको अच्छे उस्ताद से सबके लिए, इसमें आपका इल्म बढ़ेगा। इल्म कम तो नहीं होगा, बढ़ेगा। इंसान की ज़िंदगी है, चाहे कितने वर्षे को होगा, उसकी ज़िंदगी तलाश है। सा गा मा धा नी, सा नी धा मा गा सा। गा धा नी सा नी धा मैं कहूँ जी? हाँ चलो शाबाश। धा लो से सा अब इसके अंदर कि मैंने जो कुछ आपने सुनाया मैंने सुना, इसमें शोर है, 7 बज रहे हैं, यानी आप कहीं नुमाया नज़र नहीं आ रहे। नुमाया तब नज़र आएंगे जब आप क्लासिकी मौसीकी की तालीम होगी आपको, क्योंकि ये सिस्टम जो है इसमें ये नहीं कि जाना कहाँ है, आना कहाँ है, कैसे चलना है, कैसे उतरना है, ये तब आप सही आपको पता लगेगा जब आपको तालीम होगी तो फिर मालूम होगा कि ये आप ये आवाज़ कहाँ जा रहे हैं, उसमें कैसे आ रहा है। और फिर इसमें हमारी मौसीकी में ये भी एक बहुत बड़ी बात है कि इसमें एक आमद होती है।
इसके साथ आप क्या करेंगे? ये जो आपने रिकॉर्ड किया, इसका कुछ हो सकेगा आपसे?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये पर्सनल लिसनिंग है। और
अच्छा।
और I could draw influence, inspiration from this. When you have learnt your experience, your knowledge in the West or in England, I always felt that I had an identity with some form of spiritualism in music. And then I came here to Pakistan to discover, to find out what actual spirituality I have over there when I talk about it. So when I came here, I listened to the music and I found that I did not understand what they were doing, but I felt what they were doing. When you talk about taking ideas from a certain, say from Pakistan, from Iraq or whatever, that idea has been passed on for centuries. So who owns that? Who owns it? I think it's a bit of a heavy word to use to say steal, because who is it stealing from? Being in the West, I wanted to take my influence from everywhere. There's music from all over the world, Africa, everywhere, Australia, Aboriginal music, Chinese music. So I just keep myself free and just do what I wish.
लेकिन अकी इस तरह करना जो है ये हमारे यहाँ ममानत है जो लोग सीख के करने वाले हैं उस्तादों के हाँ ये ममानियत है कि किसी के बगैर सीखे हुए आप ये प्रोफेशन बनाएं या इसका रिस्क खाएं.
Maybe in time I will learn, I will gain that knowledge, or whether I would like to carry on in my naivety. Okay, Ajmal.
ओके जी
आपका बहुत शुक्रिया.
बड़ी मेहरबानी बहुत लुत्फ रहा इंशाल्लाह बशर्ते ज़िंदगी फिर आपसे मुलाकात होगी
ज़रूरी. Okay, खुदा हाफिज़.
Well, Aki.
Okay, Adam. Thank
Goodbye.
you.
You're welcome. And remember what the holy man at Liran said. He said it's okay to have Islam and music, except it shouldn't be bad music.
Well, one man's meat is another man's poison.
Well, that's the way it goes.
Okay.
खुदी मेरी इश्क पहनाए सानू सारे सूबे हाँ जदों मारी सी अड्डी सानू मिल गया